So my whole point with what I was saying was let's just to accentuate what he's saying and say it in plain language. Um, Stop worrying about people's religious beliefs. That
Right.
has nothing to do with their commitment to the community.
What's the quality of the person?
Right.
All right, let's keep going.
Nobody has it. Now, you ask if I am believe in God, you must first explain, because I met the guy that robbed my house, believe in God. He had a big cross on his chest when they caught him and down at the prison. He believed that didn't stop him from robbing my house. Believing in God don't make you good or bad. The Ku Klux Klan believe in God. The one thing that they said that they have established a religion to protect the name of Jesus. And so read the whole philosophy. Most of the people here in the Bible Belt will cut your throat for being black. Did the Bible stop them from being racist? No. That don't mean a thing because you believe. You believe and your behavior are two different things. And people ask, you believe in God, you don't believe in God. So what that means? It doesn't mean I won't cut your throat.
Okay, but you said earlier that if we stop paying black preachers tomorrow morning,
the church will close.
Let's hit on that. You got to hit that. I mean, let's not pretend like we don't know this ain't no business, man. Like,
Yeah.
let's not play with it. Let's not lie to ourselves. Let's not be delusional on purpose to act like these religious institutions aren't set up as businesses. It's business. Religion has always been business, and religion will always be business.
Well, I'll say there was a period in time where you had the traveling pastors that lived off the charity of
Yeah,
people.
yeah. But then you
But
had Constantine.
right, those were always few and far in between. And
Then you
today
got the
is no
Pope.
different.
You got
Right.
the Pope. Yeah.
Today is no different. If black people stop playing tithes, because we all know the most abundant building in the black community is the church.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's more churches than gun stores, liquor stores, and pawn shops.
Hey man, come to my neighborhood.
So, so we do know that if black people stop paying their tithes and stop giving their offerings, a lot of those churches would close shop. Now, I do believe that there are some people that honestly feel like we're called by God and we're anointed, and they would keep working despite the
Yeah.
hardships and perseverance.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be honest, the chances that you're under one of those pastors
That's far and
is
few.
right. It's slim to none. Definitely, if your pastor is ranting about you not getting him a Movado watch.
Man, that was that. Hey, you know what? I wasn't even thinking about that, bro. Like I forgot about that. That's crazy. That's yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. The you got that pastor who and we talked about that on our Freedom Train Network podcast. So check that out. But that the pastor is degrading the members of the congregation because they refused to buy him a Movado watch from Sam's. And then remember, Creflo Dollar got a $65 million jet that he said God told him to get. And see, that's like the gullibleness of the people as well. Because it's something you and I talked about in private conversations. Um, most people talk about the responsibility of the leader, but you often talk about the responsibility of the followers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important conversation that need to be had right here is followers have to be responsible for their actions and responsible for explaining why you're following this person, this particular
Mm-hmm.
person, and why you're continuing to do these actions when the overall outcome that you were seeking to get, you so far away from the outcome, it's not even ridiculous.
Yeah, my because like you said, we talked about it. My belief is followers have more responsibilities than the leaders do. Because essentially all of the power and influence is another thing we're gonna get on, but I want to finish this first. But all of the power and influence that a leader has is derived from his followers. Every single follower takes their bit of power and transfers it to the leader, who then uses that aggregate power and influence to accomplish things. So that means that if you're going to be transferring your power to somebody, to use in your stead, you have a responsibility to make sure that they're using the power that you have given them in a way that you deem responsible and
Right,
necessary and
right.
ethical. So
Well,
if it, go ahead.
I just real quick, across the board, we do a horrible job as black people. We do a horrible job of holding anybody accountable.
Right, right. But that's because we don't really participate in the power relationship, the dynamics of it. We think that leaders are leaders that have all of this power and
Hmm.
influence, and we just try to ride that wave, not
Right.
realizing that the wave is composed of a bunch of water molecules, individual water
It's
molecules.
a team.
That's what we are. We are those molecules that they're riding.
They're nothing. The preacher is nothing without his congregation.
Right. Right. So you
A,
know what, when you stop giving energy to an atom, or when you stop giving energy to an atom, it stops moving.
a leader, no matter the realm, a leader is nothing without his people, nothing without his followers. But there is I think people do have to realize too. There is a monetizing has its purpose, has its place.
Mm-hmm.
But how is the money being used?
Because
That's the
right,
question.
right. Because you need resources, right?
Yeah.
And especially you need financial resources to substitute for intellectual resources that you want that you don't have.
Well, that
Everybody, go ahead.
no, finish up. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say everybody isn't like every group isn't gonna have the intellectual capability, the time capabilities, or the technological capabilities to accomplish everything that needs to be accomplished. That's where financial resources comes in.
Right, right. The idea of the poor righteous teacher didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work. That's why, like we said, the conditions of the communities never changed. Like we can look at we can look at the 90s where we had this wave of consciousness that come through black communities all throughout America, and people were speaking good and people were talking the talk and all these things, but the actual outcomes was that the conditions of the people in the community were degrading. That's the actual outcomes. No matter, even in this latest wave of consciousness that just happened in the 2010s, late 2010s, 2020s, that all the black people, like we come from kings and queens, like everybody was kings and queens in Africa or whatever. But it's like this wave of consciousness is coming around and people are talking good, when in actuality we're not doing good.
Because it's a false consciousness,
Right.
and go ahead.
But the monetization has its place. The church should be able to gather the money and use the money to sustain itself and be able to grow itself. But it shouldn't be just one person who's benefiting off of this, or everybody else is just continuously feeding the pig, feeding the pig, feeding the pig, and you only see one person who is rising. Y'all need to stop doing that.
Well, I mean, the Bible itself has a verse about throwing your pearls to swines. But I mean, one of the things that, because here's the other end of it, the church should not be the fastest growing establishment in a community that's thriving off of the religious growth provided by that church. The church should be bringing up the rear. Everything else should be coming up because of those resources coming through the church first. So yeah, we put a building fund on the church to build up the church after all of the people in the community are no longer impoverished, homeless, without food, without educational
Yes,
resources or access
yes,
to opportunities.
yes.
Once all of those problems are solved, now we can put money into the. But the other thing I wanted to harp on real quick was just the influence aspect, because that's one thing I think we got to understand that there are two types of people out there when it comes to corruption. Some that are corrupted by money, some that are corrupted by influence or power, and they aren't always the same. There are
Hmm.
people out there, like I think back to the pastor and the African pastor, I believe it was in South Africa a few years back, that had gotten his congregation to eat grass because
Yeah,
God had told
yeah,
them, God told him to tell them to eat grass, and everybody got sick. And then I
yeah.
think about another pastor who had all of the women in his congregation sucking his meat because he had holy semen. So
Right.
he said.
Right.
Like these are people, the money, even if the money stopped coming,
To
because of the
influence.
power and the influence, they would still do it. So now you got to not only look at your pastor and evaluate whether they're making moves based on financial motivations, but also, is it influence? Is it a power motivation as well?
Well, well, look at on the influence tip, and then I'm gonna go back to the money tip. So on the influence tip, this I forgot this latest pastor, but the pastor who was robbed, it was said who
Mhm.
was robbed on camera and it went viral, and now this pastor is supposed to be challenging D.L. Hughley to a fight. Like I guess I don't know too much about him, but I just know I've seen a couple videos. But when you talk about influence, I thought about him just influence a great number of influence, a highly influential person who's not disciplined, who don't have no real morals, no real grounding to themselves. Like, yes, they're speaking, especially in the religious sense, they're speaking it, but their actions are showing you that they have no moral ground to stand on, and people still follow it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even like let's just be real. It ain't no different in the conscious community. Let's be real. Let's not just harp on the religious community because the conscious community mirrors the religious community. Only thing is, people say I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, or I follow this African spirituality, or I follow that African spirituality. But we have people in the conscious community who their actions are showing that they have no more standing, and people are still following them. And we could take it out of the country. We could take it in all realms of Black American culture, and people are blindly following those who they feel have the influence, but we're getting nothing from it. We're getting nothing from it. Stop following people. A solution: stop following these people. If the actions don't line up with the end goal, if the actions aren't leading to the end goal, stop following these people. This isn't about you feeling good. This is about actual change. And then, like you say, about the money in the churches. Let's look at the communities where these churches exist. Usually these communities are not in good shape.
Mm-mm.
So you keep pouring money into these institutions. The people in the communities that are in bad shape keep pouring money into these institutions, and the communities continue to get worse. But the church isn't. Like you said, reverse that. Build up the community. That way you can pour into the church, and that can be poured back into the community, and it could be reciprocal. And the church is building up the community is building up the church, and everybody's thriving. Instead of just one institution in that community being able to thrive while everybody else is starving. That don't make sense. Let's do it different. Stop following people just because, and stop giving money to people just because, especially when it's not leading to a favorable outcome. So
Yeah.
let's move forward though.
Yeah.
How many of them come in to do volunteer work? It's a business. There's a salary people get out of it, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, or what.
Christianity and religion as we know it is a business?
Big business. Biggest business is bigger than IT&T.
You get all kind of tax breaks, and all kind of privileges when you're the minister.
His salary is paid. You think the Pope would be there if he didn't get a big salary? He'd get the big salary of all. Do you think, no, let's face it. How many ministers you know doing it for free? Just tell me.
Okay, this is
If you don't pay your 10% tithing and see how, if you're going to get buried, they leave your cards right, and may come to the undertaker parlor and say a few words, but you're not coming to the cemetery.
Hey man, we have churches with ATMs in them, and we have every Black person has a story that they've either witnessed personally or another Black person told them about a preacher who's going off on them because they didn't tithe the way he expected them to tithe. He or she. So, but let's not fool it. Once again, let's not fool ourselves and act like um, it's not a business, and business is not involved in this. But let's also be real on the other side that the poor righteous teacher method didn't work because we ain't have no resources to build up nothing. You can't talk about building up a community, ain't got no resources.
Yeah. The only way the poor righteous teacher method works is if you have a community of people willing to utilize their resources to develop what they need to develop relatively free of charge, and that's
Right.
not gonna happen.
Right.
That's
Right.
you need the master builder to be willing to build free of
For
charge.
free.
You need the construction company or the materials companies for construction materials to provide those materials free of charge. You need the resource generators that pull the stuff out of the ground free of, you need all of these people doing things free of charge. But I will say this though, I think nowadays power and influence is a bigger issue than finances because of what you just said. In terms of the amount of black churches springing up in impoverished communities. Now, yes, they are transferring the last vestiges of wealth outside of that community. But let's also be clear, they aren't making that much money. Those
Right.
people are in there trying to become a name, trying to get
Yes. Yeah.
known.
The majority of them. Yes.
Right.
The
So,
majority of them are not mega churches.
right. So that's where I go with that, where it's like but the threat here is what you spoke about earlier, that preacher, that person that doesn't have any moral values, that is seeking the spotlight and gaining and craving a following. And there are a
Yes.
lot of them out there.
Yes.
But to Dr. Ben's other point, I'll say this real quick. Um, churches don't need, to my research, correct me if I'm wrong. Last time I researched this was about 15 years ago or so, when I was thinking about becoming a pastor myself. Actually, this is more like this was, it's about 15 years ago now. Churches don't actually need to be 501c3 to operate as tax exempt. That didn't become law, or that didn't become regular practice until the 1960s and 70s, right around the time when everything seemed to change. Before then, and if you look at IRS code, unless they changed it, religious institutions that are recognized as such are automatically granted tax exempt status.
Well,
Now
yeah.
that,
So I'm
go
reading
ahead.
this. I'm reading this in this charitable allies.org, and this is June 16, 2021, saying churches, synagogues, mosques, and other places of worship are automatically considered tax exempt by the IRS without filing or recognition of 501c3 status officially. So
So the point I'm getting at with that is, when a church incorporates, when they register, they establish themselves as a legal corporate entity, they get 501c3 status. Yes, they get additional perks with that, but they also tie their hands on what they're able to do. So
yes.
you got to think about the trade-off that's happening in the mind of the church leaders when they're saying we're willing to give up our political and social power in order to achieve the minuscule perks that we would get other than the tax exempt perks that we already have.
Yeah.
And if they aren't doing that sort of calculation in their head, then you got to look at how much due diligence they're doing if they honestly believe they need 501c3
Right.
status, and then question whether or not you want to follow people that aren't going to do their due diligence on something as significant as legal standing.
But even with that, that's another reason why it's so easy for politicians to just pop up in churches, whether you from that community or not, because the 501c3 status, the we are not a political entity, but we can support political entities, and political entities can seek us out for support, and we can take their money and we can do tax write-offs and all these things here. But us as an entity, we have no voice in that. We have no real political social voice, like we're not supposed to, because it's not like churches of the past. It's not like
No, it's not.
reverends like Dr. King and CK Steele now in the past, who were really some real OGs, some real ones, and who didn't allow, or they didn't have that position that was stopping them. They had a moral ground. They had a moral ground, and they were about the people. We far away from that now. We have a lot of the Black America has just overall, even taking out the religious realm, Black America has adopted and accepted trash ass leadership qualities and
Mm-hmm.
trash ass leaders, and we keep doing it over and over and over. Now, once again, that's why it's so easy during political season for people to just spring up. Lily white woman and lily white man out of nowhere just sprang up, and the pastor's so chummy with them.
Yeah, it's all about the show and not about the growth. And we talk about that all the time. I think one of the things we've got to come to terms with as a people is the fact that we like to be entertained at the
Yes.
cost of things
Yes.
that we should
Yes.
not be willing to pay for,
Yes.
or compromise on. And that's just the truth of it. It's something that I think the majority of Black Americans are going to have to struggle with individually and as a collective. This attraction to ratchet, this attraction to entertainment, not even ratchet, and just entertainment in general. Like this, like I'm not even gonna front. I struggle with it. I love battle rap. I love the creativity that comes with it. I love watching those brothers put words together, even the sisters. I love seeing that level of intelligence displayed and coming from people that look like me. But I
Yeah.
gotta sit down and really look at how they're choosing to display that. If
Right.
the dudes is talking about killing each other and the chicks is talking about killing each other and fucking each other and fucking each other's men. Like,
We got, yeah. So I am conscious about what I'm consuming, and I'm doing a a daily job, or I'm moving daily toward eliminating a lot of the negative stuff that I will be consuming on a regular basis, especially the music, especially the music, because I'm not watching TV that much now. Really don't have time to watch TV like that. But the music that I'm consuming. But even in that, talking about like just what we do as a culture and how our morals as a culture is, as a people rather, so low. So this I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but this is a part of a comment a white woman on one of my videos. She said, "I have a question regarding being black and being proud of who you are." That's how I knew. I was like, this person can't be black, starting off like that. She says, "Why do
might
you
be.
allow?" But now at the bottom, she says she's a white woman.
Oh,
So, but the question is, why do you allow yourselves to be cast in all forms of media, television, movies, etc., with white people for spouses? Does that not smack to you of saying, in order for you to gain credibility, you must be seen to be able to marry into the white lifestyle? Every time I see a commercial, for instance, I think, do black people not see what's happening here in real life? For instance, when the black and white marry, is that white America attempting to make America less black, white black America attempting to make white America less white? But basically, just the top part of it is asking, like, why are we allowing ourselves to be portrayed in these certain light? And it's like, baby, well, she don't understand the Negro mindset. And that's one of the things we've been working to explain with these breakdowns, within these breakdowns too, is this Negro mindset. And that's being a N-I-G-G-A. And you can stop saying the word all you want to, but if you got the behavior. But once again, black folk were conditioned to have that Negro mindset. And then black people, we continue to cultivate that mindset, that mind state, and the behaviors ourselves. And so she's seeing this because from the outside in, to them, that is the representation of what black people in America are. We know different. We see the commercials because we talk about it. We see the stuff. Matter of fact, there's even past commercials. We see all the content that black people are in. We see all the stuff, but there's a good number of us who make excuses for it. Let's just be real. Good number. Hey man, where he getting paid, man? That man doing this thing. She doing her thing. Why y'all hating? They doing their thing. Let them do their thing. Let them eat. Let them get money. Let them do this. Let them do that. Let them.